Howdy folks, Chris McLean back with yet another episode, and on the show today I have the wonderful Sonja Pototzki-Raymond, also known as Sonja the Search Queen. She's the founder of the Marketing Republiq. They're a trusted Google partner nationwide agency focused on getting clients' businesses found on Google by their ideal client for the problems that they solve. And she successfully generated over $95 million in sales for her clients since her business started less than 3 years ago. Sonja holds both an honors degree and a master's in marketing. Just why not? She's been in the global marketing and advertising industry for the last 16 years, and she's worked on some of the world's leading brands such as Guinness, Jameson, Nestle, L'Oreal, and Special K, to name a few. Those clients sound like a good Saturday night party at home. Bit of Nestle, bit of cookies, bit of Jameson.
I know,
nice
yeah. All the alcoholic beverages as well.
Well,
being Irish.
exactly. Got to have a bit of Jameson and Guinness in there. Perfect.
Exactly.
Welcome on the show. Thanks so much for dropping by.
Me. Thank you so much
pleasure.
for the opportunity. It's lovely to be here and hanging with you today, Chris.
Yeah, so you've obviously got a long history in marketing and advertising and all that good stuff. How did you become the Search Queen? How did you create that moniker, or was that a moniker you created, or was that bestowed upon you? How did the whole Search Queen and Marketing Republiq come about?
Yeah, it actually was bestowed upon me, the Search Queen, interestingly enough. So I worked at probably 3 or 4 different agencies here in Australia focused on digital. So when it came to digital, and the reason why I ended up running my own show was because I worked for agencies and I enjoyed the job, but I didn't enjoy who I worked for, and my standards were incredibly high. So I found I was incredibly frustrated because my expectations weren't being met from an employer. So when I was at one specific agency over here, I had managed over 300 clients on my own without any support. And very much within that agency, I was kind of like, people were saying, oh, Sonja is just the Search Queen, or Sonja's on fire and stuff like that. So it's kind of something that was bestowed upon me. And then how the business actually came about was I pretty much found myself in a situation of working for 3 different agencies and very similar experience with all 3 of them. And I just said to myself, I was like, oh, if I'm not going to be happy working for anybody else, I might as well just do it myself. But the minute I actually made that decision in my mind, like less than, I think a week later, I had like 10 clients approach me in the 1 week that just wanted to work with me and me only, saying that, you know, they haven't had the results that they've had since I was working on their accounts, and would I just manage them, and please can I set up my own show? So that was obviously very early stages of me thinking about it, and that kind of forced me to take the plunge. And so the business started with 10 clients that I had previously worked with at other agencies, and they just and it was born from there. But it's gone from strength to strength. The first year of my sorry. I think there's a bit of
it sounds like it's gone from strength to strength, and massive growth in a few years.
Yeah, no, it has indeed. But interestingly enough as well, Chris, I'm not sure if I've shared this with you, but in my first year of business, I was working from home. I was loving the laptop lifestyle and all of that, the lovely things that come with being self-employed for the first time, working from home and all that. But for the first year, I was very much under the radar, and I was just wanted to match my income and work for myself. I didn't know if I was even going to grow the business. So I was very much under the radar, not sure if I was doing it. And obviously, when you first set up a business, there's always that fear of failure, fear of judgment, putting yourself out there. And then when I saw the results that my clients were getting, I was just like, oh, you know, it's not about me. I need to get over myself. So that's when I started driving the business. So I'm really only out in the limelight about 2 years now. So it's not a very long time at all.
Yeah, it's a nice switch when you realize that it's incumbent upon you to help other businesses, right? When you genuinely go, holy shit, like I'm actually helping these people. I'm helping them generate serious and from your results, serious results and serious growth in their business.
Serious results is exactly right. 100%. And I honestly have a massive passion for, obviously I'm doing what I'm doing, but like Google, like I absolutely like adore what I do. You know, I
Mm,
wholeheartedly believe in everything that I do as well. Like, and there's no, everything that I do follows values of trust, respect, loyalty, and integrity. And I think within my industry, it can be very easy to get away with not doing the right thing. So I educate business owners on the traps that most businesses fall into. I educate them that through my content, as well as, you know, making sure campaigns are optimized. I show clients how to check change history. So I literally unveil all of the secrets so that people can make more empowered decisions. Yeah, because I've seen so many horror stories. And it really hurts my heart to see it, because it gives them a bad name.
it does.
Yeah, 100%.
So what is it about? Where did the love affair with Google begin, and what is it about search for you? Why is that the thing that you just went, that's my thing, that's my jam?
Yeah, because I'll tell you, when I was working at my first agency here in Perth, what happened for me was I was thrown in the deep end, and I didn't really understand the processes within the business. So I kind of had to teach myself on what actually I needed to do in order to get a result for a client, especially in the Australia market, because I did it back in Ireland, but very heavily here in Australia. So I kind of am self-taught in a way, and I realized that throughout my time of managing over 300 clients at once without any help, I needed to find some sort of what it took to get the client the results and also maintain the relationship. So the clients that I had worked with, I kind of just put myself aside and put the business aside, and actually put myself in the business owner's shoes. And my secret sauce is actually setting up campaigns around the problems that that business solves, rather than the technical terms. So a lot of the issues that happen with Google Ads campaigns, especially, or SEO campaigns, they're set up too technically. So their ideal client doesn't know that technical language. So coaching that business owner out to think like how their end user is looking for their business. So think about their customer avatar and the problem that they need solving. And then what I realized is, when I was at that agency, every time a client wanted to leave, the agency would hand me another client to try and turn it around to keep the retention up. So I was kind of like, okay, that's kind of where my magic formula was born. Like, I have a knack for managing relationships, and like it to me, I feel like you need to enjoy who you work with, and it's kind of having the right ideal client that you work with, but you actually care so much about it, they can feel that, you know what I mean? And then when it came to search, it was more of a case of seeing their businesses transform. And the fact of the matter is, there's no hiding place if you know where to look. So me knowing that I'm accounting for something, but it's trackable and it's transparent and it actually translates to real results, like that is the name of the game. Like, that falls back to me as a person of the values that I hold within my personal life. So it was kind of just a natural progression, and in terms of the level of reporting that you can show and the things that you can track and transparency and honesty and all of that, it was just one of those things that lights me up the most. Like, what gets me going is every Monday when I check every single one of my clients' results every single Monday. Because I have a team of account management as well, but I oversee absolutely everything. So checking the results and seeing the results go through the roof gives me goosebumps. That gives me more goosebumps than the money going into my account. So I just believe I'm on purpose. And yeah, I really feel like my sole purpose is to help businesses grow on Google. And I think the timing of how everything's come about, it's been really great, because, you know, there's so much uncertainty in the world, but when you're very clear on your mission and your purpose, people gravitate to that. So when it came to Google, what I do know is that so many business owners find it completely overwhelming, so they don't bother, or they've been burnt before in the past, so they blame Google that Google doesn't work. So I needed to humanize me as a person, which is why I have my personal brand, Sonja the Search Queen. So humanize Google, so that people know that they can come to trust me, that they can come to me because they can trust me, and I can answer and break down in the language that they understand. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, it's a very common thread in, I see, agencies that are sustainable and successful, where they actually genuinely care about their customers and they actually care about the results that they generate. I mean,
100%.
which it's funny to say that that's a point of difference in the market, but it can be. And You sort of say, it can be there are a lot of cowboys, and that's as a blanket term, particularly in digital marketing. And we've said many times on the show that the barrier to entry is so low. So and clients don't have that information. Clients don't know what digital marketing is. They don't understand Google. It's all this weird internet thing, and they don't know what it is. So it's very easy for someone to step in and go, hey, I'm going to run some ads for you, pay me $2,000 a month and I'll give you some sort of result. And then either just take their money for a year and not actually generate anything for them, or lead them down the garden path. And
and
so
that's
very easy.
That makes me so angry, because it's in where I come from in Ireland, like our work ethic is like your job is nearly more important than your family. So like, seeing people get away with that just makes my blood boil, because in where I come from, I see that as a form of stealing, because you're not actually doing the work. You're charging a retainer, but not actually delivering on your promise. So you wouldn't hold on to a salesperson without them delivering a result. But again, you assume that they're doing the right thing. And I see it time and time again. I've looked at one campaign in particular, and for 3 years, they paid a management fee of, for over 3 years, cumulatively $110,000. And there was no work done in the campaign. It wasn't touched in 3 years.
Wow.
Yeah. That's
it sounds insane, but I'm sure all of the digital agencies watching this episode could go, they've probably heard a similar story. Hopefully on somebody else's side of things. But it certainly happens. And even like an untouched account in 3 years that's pretty next level. But even people that can go out and get clients and do the sales thing and onboard clients, and then not actually be that interested in generating a significant ROI, understanding that business, or as you said, looking at it from what problems is this client actually solving for their customers, and then and that's obviously when you understand that and come from that perspective, you're going to generate better results in that campaign, right? Because that's what we do as marketers. We solve problems, we fix challenges.
Yes, absolutely.
Do you mentioned that in the bigger agencies that it was very kind of terminology focused, or that was that in the sales process, or was that also in the ads themselves, in the campaigns themselves?
Were too technical, so that's why they didn't work. And then there'd be no surprise then why a client wouldn't want to stay around if they're not getting a result. You know what I mean? But you as a marketer, your field, like I don't get threatened by clients. Like I don't feel intimidated by clients. I'm the expert. They've come to me, so I'll coach out of them what I need. You know what I mean? But client retention is a huge thing for me. Like within 3 years, we actually haven't even lost a single client, because I've always been attached to the result. Because if we get them a result, they never want to leave, rather than the financial outcome. You know what I mean? But again, we don't accept every client either. I think the better the fit, the better the result. So I didn't set up my business to just work with anyone, and I think it's important to be selective, especially in the industry, because there's a lot of people that would rarely say no.
Yeah. It's another commonality. You say yes just to get clients on, even if maybe you can't deliver as good a result in that domain. Maybe you don't really run Facebook ads, but someone wants it, so you onboard them and figure it out, or white label some stuff out, or kind of do it.
There's that as well, but also personality types as well. Like to me, sometimes like when I have some clients, I'm like, oh, they'll probably cost more money than they're worth. So they're long term, they're actually going to not be any benefit to us. They're going to be so demanding. So I'd rather work with people on a 3-month basis first and see if they're the right fit for long term, and then work long term, because the better the fit, the better the results, and the better the retention. Yeah,
the thing that's a super important point as well, and I think that comes back to you're clearly very, very aligned with your vision, your values, your mission. That feels like those values are like you can reel them off. You know what those are. Do those become basically a decision matrix, right? They become a decision making tool to say, 100%. Okay, here's a project, here's a client, here's a personality type. Do they fit my value system? If they do, great. I know I'm going to resonate. The energy is going to be better. The vibe's going to be there. So it's going to be a better engagement, a better working environment, a better relationship. Versus 100%. I could shoehorn who I am into a client that doesn't fit, but then I'm going to feel not as in touch, right? Not as aligned. which
100%.
makes you start to feel off as the business owner, right? And that's
100%.
when that
Yeah, you
client
want to
friction
enjoy
can
who
show
you
up.
work with. You want to enjoy who you work with, but equally, I think it's important that my staff also enjoy the clients, because I was that person with 300 clients, and some of them were nightmares, but understandably so, they were nightmares. But some were crazy people, like, and it's kind of like, how did these ever become a client? And sometimes you just can't help those people. So yeah, I just think it's knowing your worth and knowing that I never set up my business to work for crazy people. It's a two-way relationship, and I'm not in it for getting rich quick. Like, it's like, this is a long-term strategy, and my reputation is everything, because I know how quickly it can be taken away from you when you do the wrong thing. So
Reputation's massive. And that's what's going to give you sustainable work, right? And the people that you work with are going to refer you business. That word of mouth, that social cachet, that social value is going to be like, and literally your personal brand is, that's a big brand to step into. That search queen. That's something significant. That if you tarnish that, if you
yes,
it's something
100%.
sacred, right? And you want to maintain your reputation by doing right by people.
100%. Yeah. And again, like, it comes back to the values. Even our staff, like, in the interview process, like, if they don't mirror our values, they don't become staff. If our clients don't mirror the values, they don't become staff. And it's just a better working environment all around, because it definitely impacts culture.
Yeah, for sure. How do you, is that sort of is that systematic? Is that have you literally built that into like an onboarding form, or is that more a feel? You sit with someone and you get a vibe, you get an energy. How do you manage that?
I'm really good at reading people, like, really, really good. Like, so I'm great at, like, I've always had that gift, but I think that also comes back to my when I was in sales as well. Like, I was always able to read energy. So when I can pick up on vibes, and I'm like, long term, and then, like, you're listening to what their results are, and if the way, it's about even how they communicate, it's every single aspect of communication. I can sum that up pretty quickly, and it's a gut feel, and my intuition is never wrong. So I kind of, sometimes if I'm not sure about a client, I'll be like, okay, yeah, let's just see how they go for the first month, and then I'll reassess next month and see where we're at. But if they're the type of client that, oh, I'm paying you money, like, and they're demanding, but it's been very clear about what the expectations are, then that's when I would make the call. But it is very intuitive. I'm again, though, with every decision that I've made in the business, it's been very in tune. Like, I've done quite a lot of work, personal development work on myself, and my intuition is very, very strong. And yeah, I think that is basically what work. It's not necessarily them filling out a form, but it's more, I can have a look at their website and look at, like, their budget, and then I can have a look at their past experiences with marketing, and they can tell me about that. And it's kind of overall the sense of the person that I get. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I'm the same like that. Even in my personal life, I'm very selective who I become friends with. Like, you are the sum of the 5 people you spend time with. So the client's the same.
Yeah, it's a relationship, right? So it's someone you're gonna, and it's a business relationship, which is kind of a different beast again, because there's money, there's exchange, there's value, there's a different level. It's a different type of relationship, and because that money is involved, it can go pear-shaped a lot faster
100%.
or a lot worse than a personal relationship sometimes. So it's
and the thing is, when you do the right thing by the client that comes in for, say, SEO, Google Ads, then they want you to build a new website, want you to be their coach, want you to do social media ads, want you to do design, want you to do email marketing. So it's not just like bringing them in for that retainer, it's all the bells and whistles on top. So upselling the account, so the average value increases,
Yeah, you're building that lifetime value.
100%, yeah.
But it sounded like you've kind of you've got that intuitive, sort of empathetic part of that process, but then it sounds like you're also kind of backfilling that with very clear enrollment process, onboarding process. So if we test out for 3 months, we test out for a month. You're also setting very clear expectations around what that engagement looks like for the client, and that's a major piece as well. I find that having that, the clearer the rules and the clearer the boundaries, the more you get rid of shitty clients. When you have less of that, when you don't have boundaries, when you don't correctly set expectations, that can be where clients tend to it's like a shift in the trust. Like they don't feel like they can trust you because they're not confident that you've got this.
Yeah.
Because there's no real. The more you tighten it up, the more you restrict it. You actually create freedom in the direction of a better 1000%. Engagement. That's what you found?
That's exactly how I run. Like, so I'm like, so in the first month, this is what you expect, and second month, this is what you expect. Like, so I'm constantly communicating, and I'll make that very clear in the first time they work with us, then the first meeting in terms of the first results. But we also are automating that whole process as well for new clients, where they're going to get an email once a week telling them what we've worked on each week. So it stops them the need to be like, oh God, they're paying out another direct debit, but our reports next week, but they may have forgot what we've said to them in person, even though you might have said it 3 or 4 times, and you put it in an email. It's important to communicate in the first 3 months of any relationship with a client. I found is the more they know about what you're working on, the less likely they are to not create problems, I suppose, but be a bit more difficult or be a bit demanding or manage expectations is the core of what the results and the relationship in the first 3 months. So it's always a very delicate balance, you know. And sometimes, like I've just had a client yesterday that went in and onto their Google Ads campaign, and he's like a control freak. And literally, I told him 2 weeks ago, like, don't touch your Google Ads campaign. He put in a keyword or something like that. And then I think he did something on his campaign last week, and then I've noticed a drop in the results the last few days. And I had to take up the call. I'm like, so you've been touching the Google Ads campaign? He's like, no. And I'm like, yeah, you have. I can see exactly what days you have. And he's just like, okay. And I'm like, I've told you, you keep it up now, I'm going to have to fire you, because like I can't be held accountable for the results if you're going to make this so much more harder than it needs to be. And he's like, okay, fine. I promise I won't touch it more.
That's amazing.
You have those kinds of banter, like, but this specific guy, I couldn't have a phone conversation with him. Like, I rang him in Melbourne and I was like, are you free to go on FaceTime? And he's like, yeah, okay. And then because I know I wouldn't have the same interaction with him on the phone. So I was like, come here now, buddy. Pipe down. Stop touching your Google Ads campaign. And he's like, all right, okay. But he loves being put in his place as well at the same time, you know. So it's boundaries and respect, and I don't step on your toes when you do your business, so don't step on mine, you know. So this is your job. This is my job. If you want to do it yourself, go do it yourself.
That's why you're paying me, right? You're paying me money to do this so you don't have to.
And you want results, so let me get them for you.
It's such a fascinating. It might be like for general people out there, or I think maybe for us as marketers, because we've been in this thing for so long, we assume that everyone understands what marketing is, right? But for most businesses out there, it's like this weird black box. This is like I put money into marketing, and then something comes out the other end somehow, and they don't really know what that is. So so like what you're saying, you're giving more access to understanding what that black box is to a degree of, you know, you're enlightening them about what actually happens and what the process is and what the expectations should be. I think that's really important to remove that fear, or just to understand, okay, this isn't this weird magical thing that's happening, that there's a process, it's systematic, this is what's going to happen, and kind of removing that stigma of throwing money at something and maybe something comes out the back end. Which...
The thing is, you need to educate them. Like, so for me and my team, like every time we have a client meeting report, we go back at every single month and we're like, okay, so what's your understanding of SEO? You're trying to get me on page 1 of Google. I'm like, no. So let's just stop now for a second. That's the end goal. But we need to remember it's a long-term process. It can take anything up for 12 months. I can't guarantee you results. This is deliverables that we need to achieve. You know, so we go and we bring them along that journey every single month. So then they know the difference and they can see the value and their expectations are managed. And then with Google Ads, it's like, okay, here's all the conversions this month. This is, and then we have clients whereby we have done SEO and Google Ads together when they first started working with us, and now we've had to turn off the Google Ads campaign because they can't keep up with the result, but they understand the difference.
Yeah.
No,
I love that you're making that coaching, education, training aspect in as well, so the client actually becomes more educated over time as well.
100%. You just
whilst getting results.
You don't want to be regarded as another person that you have to pay a bill to. It's so much more than that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's really nice, really important balance, I think, is that educating them at least a little bit. So again, it's not a black box anymore. It's okay. At least I kind of have a bit of a grasp on what this is and what's happening and what's going on, enough that I could tell my superior, or I could tell the board, or I could tell my partner what I'm doing at work, like that we're using this agency to do this marketing stuff, and you've kind of at least got a conversational idea of what it is. Even just that level of education can really help somebody to, again, not get involved because they trust that you're educating them, right? So you're the educator, you're the expert, you're the authority.
100%. And you've hit a very important point there as well, because like what I have found in my experience is half the time business owners don't ask questions because they're afraid of looking incompetent, or like they think that they should know digital marketing. And the reality is they didn't set up their business to be a digital marketer. They set up their business to be, say, luxury home builders or like bankers or whatever, financial planners. That was their area of focus. So there's almost this shame because they don't understand the world of digital marketing. But like the more you ask the questions, like the more whoever you have as a resource should be educating you, because you should know where your money's going. So that's a really important point, I reckon.
Yeah, that's a very, very key insight. Glad that you picked that up and ran with that a bit. I think that's the super important part is the client wants to feel. It just comes back to human care, right? Do you actually give a shit about your client? And if you do, you want them to feel confident. You want them to feel capable. You want them to be able to have a conversation with someone and say, yeah, we're doing great on SEO because our keyword ranking's gone up 5 spots this month. Right. If they can understand that, at least they're confident, they've learned something. And it's again positioning you as that authority.
They only need to know the stuff that they need to know in order to get the results. So like they don't need to know all the technical SEO work that we implement on the site.
Yeah.
They just need to know what they need to approve, when they need to come back to us by, and why. You know what I mean? So it's like power of SEO is an implementation. So taking along that journey is key. But I do find that some people are just very confused when it comes to the world of SEO, because they're like very much, we have done SEO, so we put up a blog of content, but SEO is such a very loose term in our industry. And there is so many ways on how not to do it. And unfortunately, all the clients that end up with me have been the ones of how not to do it. But white hat SEO strategy is what SEO should be following. So on page, off page, and technical SEO, so like educating them on why it's like the management fee for SEO it's not a cheap campaign. It's a long-term strategy, but in the grand scheme of things, it is cheaper in the long run if you have the patience and wait on the outset, as in watching the results, approve, implement, as in making those recommendations and then implementing. Because in the long haul, like I have like a lot of my clients are luxury home builders, and they get a lead and it converts to a client. Like you're looking at like $1 million. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So but again, when it comes to SEO, you don't pay obviously per click, whereas with Google Ads you do. But you have that balance where Google Ads is more expensive but short term, whereas SEO is long term, but can look expensive, but not really. Just have to have that trust and invest to see the result.
Yeah. And exactly like you've been saying, have that engagement, have that relationship with the client to at least explain that, right? Because that's when they don't get that, and they go to Facebook and an ad pops up and says, I'll get you 30 leads for $100 and page 1 of Google. They're like, well, why isn't Sonja getting me on page 1 for $100? I'm paying her all this money and I'm not on page 1 yet, because that stuff exists, right? And if you're not, if the client sees that, stuff, and like, well, they don't recognize that that's probably a scam. It's not reality. It's a marketing tactic. Or so.
And how I obviously can't wait to respond to that.
Yes.
So like guaranteeing first page, and I have to say this openly, guaranteeing first page presence to any client. If any business ever says that to a client, run for the hills, because they can't even guarantee you that. Like Google can't even guarantee it. So they're lying, barefaced lie to you to get the sale. Nobody can guarantee, like, that's the goal. But the thing is ranking for page one of like this keyword. People are getting very hung up on keywords. It's about a whole holistic approach. If your website isn't satisfying the user journey experience or the page experience update as well, you're never going to rank because you haven't figured out, okay, how does the end user actually go on my site? Like, do I have enough conversion points on my site? Do they have to scroll for them to contact? It's all those different areas. Is my page speed too slow? Like, that all impacts keyword rankings, but then you're not doing anything to change it. It's kind of like, yeah. And at the end, first page present for some keywords, the way we do it as well is we actually open up the floodgates for other search terms. So you can eventually rank for all these different keywords that you never thought relevant. Because some people think they're doing great when they can rank number one for the brand name. And it's kind of like, that's not the purpose of SEO. You want to connect your audience to your problems on Google for the problems that you solve when you haven't even thought about them. That is how SEO works, and it takes time to do that.
No, I love it. I think that, as you said, that's a flat out lie. Anyone promising you to get page one. So clients out there, I mean, if you're offering that, that's not the way to do business. But I think it's an important thing to understand that is your clients potentially are seeing that. They're probably being proposed that by other agencies. So being able to have that conversation, say, well, yes, that is a lie, and this is how it actually works, and this is how we're going to do it. This is what the engagement looks like.
Or the spam emails that everybody gets. It's like, oh, I see your website's not ranking well. I can get you on first page presence, and it's like it's a company in overseas that obviously it's a robot, but then you get these emails, like especially with the new clients, whereas the old clients are already educated, like scam. You know, so interesting.
No, I love that balance of education, because most clients out there, or most business owners, this isn't, the black box of digital marketing is not what they're tradies, they're electricians, they're business owners, they're financial specialists, they're not marketers. So this stuff is confusing, and they can be taken for a ride.
100%.
So love that you're baking that educational component is to actually elevate the education level of businesses and clients out there in the world. Super important.
Agree. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much. I know we tried to book this a while ago, so I'm super glad that we finally got you booked in. If people want to come and find out more about you, connect with you, learn all about search and all that good stuff, where are some of the best places for them?
Well, I'm all over social media anyway, so but I have my own Instagram page, Sonja the Search Queen, and then I have my agency page, the Marketing Republiq. But connect with me on LinkedIn as well. If you want to drop the link as well for everyone, it's just so that would be great. But the Marketing Republiq is my agency, and come say hi, and love to hear what their business is about and connect, and so I can support their businesses as well and watch their grow. Yeah.
Awesome. And you have a great email newsletter that goes out as well. You're very active on the email, so connect up on there. I know you're doing a lot of you always got interesting content and doing lots of sort of lives and events and that sort of stuff as well. So lots of good educational insights coming through on there.
And also if anybody wants to avail of some of my free training, I have some free training if you wanted to give it to your audience, and we basically they can just tap into that training, and it's like a 45-minute training, and then it takes them through the education of SEO and Google Ads and all that. So that might actually, anybody that wants to listen to that.
Awesome. We'll grab that link and we'll drop that with all the other links in the show notes, so the folks at home can click on those and connect with you, do some training, find out all about you. Thank you again. Thank you so much for dropping by. It's been super insightful, really, 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 really important stuff for agencies, either agencies that are starting, agencies that are wondering how they can engage better with clients. So there's some really, really key insights in what you've chatted about today. So thank you.
Thank you very much for your kind
words. Open and honest about your business and sharing with us today. It's been really good.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And thanks for being you as well. We've known each other for a while, so you're awesome as well. So thank you.
Shucks. Appreciate you dropping by. Thanks everyone for watching at home. I know it's been super insightful. This one's probably worth watching again, taking some notes, because really, really, really key stuff to building those long-term sustainable client engagements. Thanks for watching. Thanks, Sonja, for being here. Catch you on the next one. Cheers.